I can't say enough of how this center influenced me and the benefits that my wife got from it. I thought nobody can take care of her like me, and I knew I had to do something for my family. It's in their hearts that they want to provide the care for the people that deserve it here.
Welcome to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. Thanks for joining us today. Our special guest, the mayor of the city of Lancaster, Dave Smith, and our service safety director, Brian Kuhn. Thanks, gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate it. Your busy schedules. I know it's time out of your busy day, but again, we do appreciate you coming in and talking to us and give us an update about what's going on. I know that at the time of this taping, we have one major event going on, and that's the American Legion baseball tournament. That's always comes to Lancaster, Fairfield County.
It does. It's a great event. This is the 5th year that Lancaster has been the host city for the event. And in previous years, they've been able to use Beavers Field and also either Fisher Catholic and or the Lancaster High School baseball fields for their different teams that come in. They've rearranged the number of teams coming in. It used to be 12 and I think down to 9. Now they have an 8-region format, and that allows them to get the tournament in and out just using Beavers Field because Al Beaver and his wife Phyllis and everybody else that works out there, they put in an all-weather surface on that field. And now they can play anytime they want to. They don't have to worry about a heavy rain or wearing of the grass or it's being too sloppy or muddy or slippery or whatever. They got that all-weather surface. And the first day of the tournament, they played 4 games. The second day of the tournament, they played 4 games, and then down to 3-2 and hopefully 1 game. And it's a great economic development boost. Greg Ironman and Kathy Levesque from the Visitors Convention Bureau worked with us 5 years ago, actually 6 years ago, to work with the American Legion executives that handle this annual tournament. And it's for all of Ohio. And it's a great tournament. And it's great to have that economic development in our community. They fill up the hotels. They bring in a lot of extra people, family and friends and coaches, and they spend a little money in there. But it's great to have a game like baseball be that important to our community that Al Beavers was talking the other day at that field. They've played like 170 games so far this season.
Wow. And
that just means with that all-weather surface that, okay, a little rain shower, get out of the way of the lightning and thunder, and then play ball. It's a great asset for our community. Brings in people all season long for the baseball season, as well as for the American Legion tournament, and a nice relationship that we all have together.
It's a great venue to watch a game. I mean, it's a great place to. There's some shade there if you want that. You can sit out in the sun, and it's great. It's a nice facility.
And they got huge lights for night games. Very pleasant this time of year, about 7 o'clock for the games that have at night. Very pleasant. It's been very cool it was very cool during the playoff series, and or at least not hot and sticky. So it was very pleasant to be out there.
No, did you play baseball growing up? Or you? I know Brian did.
As I was growing up, and then when I stopped growing, I quit playing. So about 4th grade. I was in Little League through our church, and that was about it. I was one of those guys that could run and run and run, but I couldn't hit. And I couldn't pitch, and I couldn't throw, and so except for that, I was pretty good.
You were pretty good.
Yeah.
The mayor referenced that like the all-purpose field. The other day, or I guess it was like Wednesday, when it rained, and like within a half an hour they were ready to go again. Where most fields, diamonds, you probably would have had to cancel or wait for several hours. And that night, the last game finished at midnight. Because I know the mayor and we were over there because all the games got pushed forward, and so the last game started at 9. And the mayor and we were there like at 10:30 or going on 11 o'clock before we left, and they said the games wrapped up at midnight that night. And but the lighting that you have makes it perfect, and the shelter house and the food concession that Phyllis they have a Phyllis burger that tastes great. So If you ever have the opportunity to go out, during the course of the year when the Legion plays there, or next year for hopefully they'll be coming back to go enjoy a game, and I took my stepson over to watch a game, and it was interesting the number of Lancaster residents that they didn't know anybody that was playing, but they just came to watch some good baseball.
Right.
And these guys were like the best of the best in the state. So it's very good entertainment, and the price of admission is free.
Yeah.
So very good.
Remember when the Scouts played here? I mean,
yes.
Well, it's
For a
been
period
a
of
couple
time.
years ago.
Yeah,
They played
yeah,
for a
a
little
long
bit of time. Oh, well.
And Al Beavers, he had mentioned to me that Capital from Columbus College, their baseball team would come and play on Beavers Field at times because it was just the level of the facility was much better than theirs.
Oh,
Right.
sure.
So that would be their home game.
Yep.
It's nice. It's a great facility.
And there's the bologna sandwich. It's about a half-inch thick, and it's only $3. And it's pretty tasty. I think they get all their meat from Hugh Bay, so it's all locally processed and good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know that the games I've been to out there, people eat quite a bit. I know. I mean, I try to watch my diet. I do, but
Seafood diet.
That's it. That's exactly it. We talk about economic development. I know there's a lot going on downtown. There's a lot of stuff going on. The economic development update is coming up August 6th, I believe, is on Wednesday at the Lodge. If you're interested in that, I know I'm going to be attending. But let's talk a little bit about downtown Lancaster.
Well, Brian and I, Brian started with us in February, and he's had a lot of different things to look at the city, from city administration and how we function, but also how do we go out in the community and how do we process how nicely things are working or what can we make better. But you talk about the downtown with the Lancaster Festival, 11-day event this year, a lot of activities almost every day downtown, but we have 2 new restaurants in downtown. We have a third business that's redoing the front of their store. It's the same business, but they're redoing the front of their store on Main Street. The Main Street itself was shut down for about 6 weeks, putting in brand new concrete to really make that a smooth ride for everybody and last a long time. And then the city bought the Columbian building, big 3-story red brick building right there on Center Alley between Broad and Columbus. And we've started the renovations. They've done the demo work. They're working on the interior structural changes right now. And that should be finished in about 11 months. So midsummer next year, maybe late spring, just kind of depends on how lucky we get with some of the other activities. But a brand new court building, basically being paid by the users, not really tax dollars, it's the users of the system who pay a court cost or a fine or whatever you might want to call that. So the users of the system get to pay for that. But it's a renovation of an existing building. There's about 40,000 square feet in that building. Which is a huge building when you think about it. And the county government was very kind to us. They had a parking lot on Chestnut Street, and they actually gave it to the city to help us with our project. And even though it says Fairfield County Municipal Court, there are some counties and some municipalities that partner on that relationship. But in years past, it's been mostly a municipal court. But this is a great opportunity and a great cooperation with the county government and the commissioners giving us that parking lot to be used not only for the employees that work there, but also for some of the nonprofits that work in the area, and then we'll have some public parking on top of that. So it's created a nice opportunity, and the city will manage that with the best of interest to provide parking for the community. And then nights, weekends, and holidays, it's wide open for anybody that needs to use it as well.
And there's been talk, downtown about the new jail and the location of it and all that. And, with everything going on downtown, I mean, it seems like it's the right thing to do. I'm throwing that out. But you can,
the jail. You're talking
yes,
about the jail.
yeah.
Okay. That's been in the news a little bit lately.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. And what's interesting is for some of us who think the current jail site is a fine place to expand and put it bigger, and I'd be one of those, that government, and jail is part of the government, the government services have traditionally been centrally located in the city. We certainly have that with the county courthouses, the city government buildings that we have, and all the related type of things. So having the jail continue there just makes a lot of sense. And I understand a little bit of the concerns that some of the people might have for the water, but that's kind of been identified. The professional engineers have surveyed the soils to find out what's in there, and surveyed the depth of the construction that would be at that site as it goes forward. And there don't seem to be any hazardous issues or concerns. And then as far as economic development or a proper place for the jail, where it is now as it gets bigger, for us it's a lot better location, because we, the city, do a lot of the transporting of those who are awaiting trial at the Fairfield County Municipal Court building. Instead of going out to Liberty Center as one option, it's a lot easier for us to transport from a couple blocks away, certainly a lot safer. We've kind of done an estimate that the cost difference would be about $100,000 a year to the city to go out to a further location like the Liberty Center. And so not only is it safer only going a block or two, but it's a lot cheaper, and we can do more of it. And it's surprising that the average number of visits of I never know how to say it. It's not a prisoner as much as someone who is the defendant in the situation. But anyway, we transport about 5 to 7 times per individual. And so we take a lot of to and from to get those individuals in front of the court, in front of the judges, to be with their attorneys. And most of the attorneys are downtown, although some attorneys come from out of town to defend somebody. But it's all a lot about convenience. Government tends to be, or what is more logical, or what is more centrally located, or hopefully is cheaper. And in this case, I don't have a real problem at all with the county decision to be at the current site on Wheeling Street and or Memorial Drive. It just makes a lot of sense.
Brian, we talked earlier that you've been in this job a few months, and a lot of issues going on, and we talk about street paving, and people say, oh, we got to pave that street again, but we actually get matching dollars. Explain a little bit about street paving and downtown, how we arrived at paving that, and the dollar amount, things like that.
Yeah, a lot of the streets that were done early on this paving season, including Main Street, are the state highways, and so the state High Department of Transportation kind of dictates to us like what they're going to do, how they're going to proceed. They definitely include the city in meetings, but they're kind of running the show, and the city receives the benefit, 100% of the street, but we're paying 20% of the cost. So it's a win-win for us. We get 100% done for 20% of the cost. What it would to do what the state did this year would probably be impossible for the city to finance, honestly. And with the street levy that got passed last year by the voters, the city's able to use those funds for other streets, and those projects are going over on the west side right now, and also replacing the curb ramps with the ADA ramps, and we're also the next step along with the street paving. We're investigating that repairs of alleys. So that's another thing, and we're going to try to focus on the east side. Since the west side's getting the new streets, we're going to look at alley maintenance over on the east side, and that's 100%. Those streets will be 100% paid for by the city.
Now, people always ask, how do we prioritize those? Why does that one get done first, and mine's been this way since my dad was just a kid? Is there a committee that gets together, or is there? Just talk a little bit about how you decide what alley gets done at what time.
Well, there's a number of ways to talk about alleys or streets, and I'll touch a little bit on both of them. On streets, it's usually where does the money come from? So in the case of what we had with Shelley Companies coming in earlier this year, they were doing the state highways. And those are state projects, ODOT projects, and we get to participate with some input, not necessarily the engineering, but the thought process about what infrastructure underneath needs to be addressed prior to. So if we need to do some upgrades of water lines, gas lines, storm sewers, things like that, we coordinate that prior to the paving. So the city's involved along the process, but the state is mostly a state project. You get off of the state highways, but there are still thoroughfares, main traffic lanes that are used by the motorists that are still state controlled or we get state monies for. And so the only ones that the city is mostly, if not 100% responsible for, would be a true residential street. You got a cul-de-sac, you got a subdivision, River Valley Highlands, there's different subdivisions within Hunter's Trace, places like that. Those are all private, no commercial, it's all residential, and for the most part the city's responsible for those, and we don't get funding from any other source. And so with the remainder, that's why the city property tax that was passed about a year ago gave us additional monies, about $2 million a year, to work on the residential streets. And that's what Brian was talking a little bit about, where we take care of some of our own streets, and we engineer them, we bid them out, and then we get the process done. And usually it's a subjective thought. Almost everybody has to be subjective about what streets are more important or bigger, or where do we get more complaints, or where is it obviously. But what's interesting in this case, because we got the monies as quickly as we did, we didn't have time to do a third-party consultant on the street quality in the 2014 season. We made some value judgments. You know, we're pretty good at looking at our streets and listening to the phone calls of where are the streets, and we tried to do it in a concentrated area, so the mobilization of the street paving companies, in this case it was Spires doing the city streets, nice local company, very fortunate to have them here to be able to give us a great price. But as we did that, we made some subjective choices, and as we go forward, we've hired an engineering firm out of Columbus, EMH&T, and they're going to use the ODOT system, the Ohio Department of Transportation system of street grading, and then you put a multiplier down there of the actual traffic movement, daily activity. So now you'll get an absolute number times a multiplier for the daily traffic, and now you're going to have a real number. And then the best number or the worst number will be on top, and the least will be at the bottom. And now you want to have a priority of what streets are quantified, identified, scientifically, matter of fact, worst streets that need to be addressed first. Now you have some subjectivity that can enter into it. You got one street over here and one over there, and how do you want to manage the projects? And if the mobilization isn't too bad, well, then you go in the rank order. You know, the lowest grade street, the highest traffic volume will give you a number, and there you go.
We were talking the other day with a group of people about the bypass. It seems to me that there's people using the bypass, but there's still a lot of people going through Lancaster. Do we keep numbers on those? I mean, or do we? What's on Memorial Drive? And it seems occupied. I mean, the restaurants still seem to have people in them. And
the important thing you don't see on Memorial Drive, going north to south, south to north, is you don't see 18-wheelers. And you may not see all the students going down to Athens or people going into Hocking Hills. The people that really, really, really know where they're going, they can use the bypass. But what Memorial Drive did in the bypass, ODOT told us, and we agreed with them, as soon as you open up the bypass, you'll see a shift of all the traffic on Memorial Drive over to the bypass. But you'll also feed back in, a lot of people will be using Memorial Drive because now it's less congested. You don't have the truckers, and no offense to the truckers, if they miss one light, they might miss them all. And they just can't get up to speed. So the throughput of all that traffic was being diminished by trucks going through town, or people just going through town. And you know, if it's lunchtime or breakfast or dinner and people want to go through Lancaster and pick up a meal on the way through, they'll still do that. And if they used to come through Lancaster before the bypass and like what they saw, they'll come back again. So we're always happy about that. But the traffic volume's built back up to what it was. It's 40 or 50,000 vehicles a day on Memorial Drive, but it's a different type of traffic. And we like to think it's smaller vehicles that make the lights. It's easier for the traffic computers to deal with that than the slower moving trucks.
I was going to say, it's interesting. I don't know if you ever have the occasion to drive on the bypass, but say if you're in Sugar Grove for some reason and you're going to go up to Carroll and you take the bypass, as we've done on occasions, it's amazing the number of cars that are taking the bypass. And I've often commented to my wife, I'm like, imagine if all these cars were going through town still. You know, it's just it's amazing. And you probably have the locals trying to find ways to stay off Memorial Drive. And I think that's what the mayor was saying, is yeah, all that through traffic's gone. So, oh, good. Now we can come in and
Right.
get our errands run.
And motorists are funny people. You live off of North Columbus Street. And when Memorial Drive was being rehabbed, North Columbus Street took a beating.
Right.
Yeah.
When Memorial Drive got fixed up as the bypass was being built, then we fixed up North Columbus Street. Well, the people that were used to using North Columbus Street had to go over onto Memorial Drive, or they would circle around, use Arlington, Whittier, and whatever they had to do. And probably one of the nicest projects where we got the most I'll reverse this. The most complaints was North Columbus Street. And people were complaining. We fixed it. We got a few compliments, and that's okay. That's okay.
Sure.
Because we want to hear when people are not happy. What can we do to make things better? But as soon as we fixed the worst street in Lancaster, we still had the worst street in town, and that was West Fair Avenue. And that's on another project list. And if it's not West Fair Avenue, then it's going to be somewhere else. But with these new levy monies, we're going to whittle down year by year in the next couple of years and take care of some of these bigger road problems. And a lot of people should be a lot happier.
One of the questions, being new to the office, and something that stuck out, like, well, this is a 17th phone call I've got. That Miller guy better quit calling me. Is there something that popped out that you just weren't ready for? You just like, whoa, this isn't. I mean, because you take care of all the departments. I mean, all the departments in Lancaster, and garbage collection or something that just. Well, I don't have an answer for this one.
I would say nothing that I wasn't prepared for, because normally what I do is I'll pass that on to what I call the professionals. So if it's a sanitation issue, then I call Paul Martin and say, Paul, here's the person's name, their number, or email. If it's a water issue, whatever the case may be, I don't pretend to know everything. That's not possible. But I push it off to the, like I said, the professionals. If it's something that's come up before, and as I go through the months, I learn. It's like, oh, okay, I know what to do in this case, and I can take care of it now. There's been some interesting questions and issues that I won't talk about here, but
JT appreciates that.
But nothing that isn't, I guess, solvable. But one of the interesting questions, or sometimes people call in, and it's an issue, and the mayor obviously has been doing this a long time. It's an issue or a question where it involves two neighbors. And it's a civil matter, and it's not a city. We can't step in and take care of everything. We just can't. And sometimes people don't want to accept that answer. They want us to take care of it, and whatever we can, we can and we will. But there's just some issues that it's out of our jurisdiction, so to speak. And it's interesting, some of the questions that you get that maybe involve that.
Now, do you get together with other service safety directors from other cities and talk about how you handled this or how we did that?
There's just I believe a couple conferences a year, and since I just started in February, I got to go to one. I think it was in May. It was the safety directors. Most cities, I think, and the mayor can correct me, but they'll have a service director and they'll have a safety director. So I went to the safety directors meeting. It was police chiefs and the safety directors and fire chiefs. Just to kind of get a update on kind of what's out there. The service side, I haven't been to anything for that yet, or I haven't been to any committee or conference for that yet. But and the mayor and I and Mike Pettit, our economic development director, we went to Newark to talk to them about some different things, and got to meet their service director and safety director. But haven't really had the opportunity to sit down and talk with other directors.
I know that from my days years ago that we always talk about equipment, fire trucks, police cars. Police cars can only go so far; they got to be traded in. Fire trucks can only do so much. And are we in pretty good shape on it as far as equipment in the city of Lancaster?
Yeah, I would say so. We actually had just been talking with Chief Bailey recently about his needs, and sure, it'd always be nice to have 10 new cruisers, but that's not going to happen. But I think we're going to maybe add one more by the end of the year, and look at next year maybe one or two. But I think the police chief is satisfied with what we have and what our current plans are, and The fire side, I believe we had a truck, one of the towers truck taken out of operation, kind of like a factory recall, I guess you would call it, by Sutphen, the the manufacturers. And I think that Franklin County, a lot of the other counties or cities had theirs taken out of operation, but that's an issue that they're working through right now. But as far as I know, I think we're pretty well set for the near future.
When you talk about funding for streets, and there's different funding we've already talked about, the fire department, police department are general fund, if you will, taxpayer-supported parts of the government. The ratepayers pay for water, wastewater, sanitation, natural gas, things like that. So the ratepayers are paying for the vehicles in those departments. So when we have fire trucks and police vehicles, those are the majority, if not all, of what we have in the general fund. The fire department is fortunate to have something called a fire impact fee. So for every residential unit that is built in our community, and it could be a condo, an apartment, a single-family home, an apartment complex, whatever, we get a stated amount of money. It's about $2,200. And when Midtown Apartments went in off of Edie Road and Riverway, they put in about 240 units. Multiply that by that paid for one fire truck. Fire truck's about 450, 500,000. So that fire impact fee, and we use it judiciously. And right now, we probably have the best status of our fire equipment probably ever. We have 2 fire engines. We have 3 firehouses, and usually there's an engine and a medic at each of those, and then we have 2 ladder trucks on top of that. So as we do that, we now have 2 engines that are called Rosenbauers, as compared to Sutphen. We have 2 of those, and they're under 2 years old. One's about 2, and the other one's just brand new. And then our large tower truck called Tower 1, 100-foot tower. It is something we bought in, I think, 05. It was delivered in 05. So it's less than 10 years.
Right.
And then the medic trucks, none of them were more than 2 years old, and we rotate those pretty religiously. So we're probably in the best shape ever, because oftentimes fire trucks will last 20, 25 years, and you really let them go that long.
Right.
You borrow money for 20 years, and you hope you get your 20 years, and then if you get a 21st, 22nd, 23rd, that's great. Police vehicles, much different. They're paid straight out of the general fund.
We have, this time has flown by. We have about 30 seconds left, and I know the mayor's having a birthday coming up. 40 again for
Thank you.
however many years that is, and we want to wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah, the 26th anniversary of my 40th.
There you go. There you go. And again, Brian, we're loved having you on. We'll get you back on and talk a little bit more stuff. We do appreciate you coming in today and filling in. But
thanks for having us in. It's nice to give you and the viewers kind of an update of what's going on in the city, and would welcome the opportunity to come back and talk
absolutely.
some more.
We got more stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I know you do. We appreciate you guys coming in. We really do.
Very good.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller, and remember, until we meet again, let's make a difference.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.